This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome everybody to this week's Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Going to be a weird podcast because it's going to be lows and highs. Lows about the Spartans, lows about the state of my favorite college football team, the craziness that was Saturday's game for the Paul Bunyan Trophy. It's not coming back to East Lansing. It's unfortunate. It's sad. And then not only do you get curb stomped on the field, the Spartans also get curb stomped after the game as well. But then there's going to be some highs, some personal victories that I get to share, and also the Detroit Lions just made my life so much better on Sunday because speaking to somebody that I saw at the bar beforehand as I was walking in, there's the Elmwood bar. I saw someone that I know, and I just said, I just need a blowout. It makes it easier to write. There's no stress. There's no back and forth. It's just so much easier, and that's what happened. So it was a great Sunday for Detroit Lions fans. So we'll share the positivity later in the show. So we'll start on a more somber note for Sparty Nation because, look, it's somber but also frustrating. It literally appeared that Jonathan Smith did not understand the nature of the rivalry, did not understand the craziness that is the rivalry, did not understand how important this game is. And to me, it's a wasted opportunity. Michigan played so bad that you could have really, if you had a game plan that involved a little bit of creativity, a little bit of ingenuity, a little bit of some of the spark that brought you here, how do you, as a coach, literally get out-coached by somebody else that is clearly learning on the job at what he does? Too high safety against a team that can't pass? What are you doing? What are you doing in terms of your creativity offensively? What are you doing in terms of your ability to learn how to punch the football into the red zone? The Spartans had this win. It was literally stolen from the Sparty Nation because of the coaching staff. Literally, they came into it like, we're just going to do a simple thing and no creativity, no ingenuity, nothing that would indicate that you're going to just throw the entire playbook out the window and win the game. So when I rewatched it, because I knew I was going to be mad hearing how it went down, I got more mad and pissed off because you gave away a win by a game plan that literally would have no chance to help the Spartans win that game. Jonathan Smith came into this like he was some Division III coach that never understood a rivalry before. You were at Oregon State. It's the game. You throw out game plans in the middle of the game if you need to. Trick plays, ingenuity, figure out how you got shocked by the fact that when Orgy's in the game, he wasn't going to pass it. I was literally shocked that our coaching staff did not at least meet what the Wolverines were able to do. And it was devastating. Every time I saw the too high safety look, I was like, what are they doing? Why are they Michigan can't pass the ball. What are you doing? You need pressure. You need opportunities to get home. And literally, I was at a wrestling event, and once I saw Jonathan Kim in a two-play stretch, the Spartans at the red zone, delay a game followed by a missed field goal, I just knew. That's probably subconsciously why I didn't go, even though I had a credential. I knew in my heart of hearts, Michigan just had a couple guys that were better than the Spartans were. But my God, literally, you and I would have, if we were Spartan defensive coordinators, would have said, all right, we need to stop two people, Mullings and Loveland. That's it. That is literally it. And who was getting the ball over and over and over and over again? Literally, you just could have had anybody else. Donovan Edwards, another wide receiver, anybody else. You forgot that Loveland's the guy that they're going to target. So to me, it was just a wasted opportunity, a shitty game. And to sit there and watch it, I was like a glutton for punishment. I literally asked myself, do I really even care? Should I just go on the podcast and just declare I'm unprepared and I didn't care to know that the Spartans lost? But then to watch that, It literally represents Sparty land. Inept, unprepared, missed opportunities, stupid mistakes. In the biggest game of the year, you don't have to win any other game. You have to win the Michigan game. You have to play your best at the Michigan game, especially when Michigan was just basically like, we're going to hand this to you. Take it. Just come and do something and take it. That's where it's at. It's utterly embarrassing. And then for Jonathan Smith to be like, well, now, just shut up. Just not to come out and be like, on Monday, I just realized, wow, what it takes. It takes you being called little brother to your face for the 1,000th time to realize how important it is for Spartan Nation. It's literally, when you got off the damn plane, the first couple questions were, are you going to beat Michigan? What are you going to do? The first time, I don't want to bring race into it, but the first time Sharon Moore and an African-American coach has won a game first time against the Spartans since the 1940s. I don't even know if that's even accurate. I don't know if I was just browsing it or if Sharon Moore is the first coach or whatever it was. But, man, that was just, when you have an opportunity, if you're just average, to do something and you can't accomplish it, it's the worst of the worst. That's the thing that pisses me off more than anything, especially when Michigan State clearly outrushed Michigan. They're the better team. They are the better team. But you just can't coach your team in a way to help this team win. It was terrible. How did you experience it? I know you weren't thrilled by it, but Michigan gets the win. They, luckily over the last 16 years, Michigan State's won 10 and lost 6. But it's I'll take the stance of more locally since COVID. It's 2 wins for the Spartans and 2 wins for the Wolverines. But God, that game pissed me off.
I thought it was a horrible game to watch. I was frustrated as a Michigan fan watching this game, and I get where you're coming from as a Michigan State fan. I felt like Michigan State, just a ton of coaching ineptitude across the board, right? Like, Michigan's best defensive backs not in the game. Will Johnson not playing. Michigan can't cover. Why aren't you taking more deep shots? Why aren't you throwing the ball around a little bit more? Why aren't you trying to push the ball around a little bit more underneath? To me, it just didn't necessarily make sense, the game plan going in. And Michigan State had a firm grasp on this game up until the final, 26 seconds of the first half? I mean, Michigan goes down, scores, or yes, 29 seconds left. They go down and they score, and then they kick the ball off. And I'm not really sure what you're trying to do at the very end of the half. Like, I don't understand where are you trying to throw the ball deep? Are you trying to get into a position where you can kick a field goal? Like, I didn't understand what Michigan State was trying to do with 26 seconds left. Most of the time you just take a kneel, you run off the field, and you just kind of regroup, and you go in at half, and it would have been Michigan State leading 7-6 because Michigan basically left their heart out on the field as they botched the extra point. This gives them renewed life when they force a turnover and they're able to kick a field goal. Now they're going in at halftime up by 2. Like, bananas. Like, this game was sad to watch, and it was just frustrating on both sides, right? Like, Michigan didn't play a great game. Michigan didn't play well at all. I think it was important that they won this game because when you look forward, they probably only get one more win the rest of the season. They're taking on Oregon this week. They're going to get their doors blown off. I think Indiana is going to beat the shit out of them. And then you're going to face Ohio State, who's going to try to hang 100 on you. So your one win's going to be against Northwestern. So you'll have 6 wins. Maybe you'll get invited to a bowl game. Who knows? But it's been a completely frustrating season. And like you said, with Michigan State, when Alex Orji's going in, you have to know it's going to be a designed run. He can't throw the football. He can't read a defense. Like, he's going to throw, or he's going to run. So stack the box and just bring the house. Like, contain him and hit him. That's all you got to do. It just, I think it kind of shows you, and maybe puts a light on kind of where these two programs are in the grander scheme of the Big Ten, right? Like, Michigan, definitely not on the same playing field as Oregon. Not on the same playing field as Ohio State. Not on the same playing field as Penn State. And not on the same playing field. You'll never hear me say this ever again, probably. Same playing field as Indiana. And you can kind of even work a little bit further down the teams in the Big Ten. Nebraska went out this week and played a really good game against Ohio State. And, look, these two programs right now, I think if you're Michigan State, you can take the solace in the fact that you've got a good head coach. I know that there was some coaching malfeasance in this game, right? And I think he cost you this game. But you got a good head coach who's establishing a program. You got a good head coach who feels like he's got some pieces he can work with. Aiden Childs, I think, will be a good quarterback. I think he is turnover prone right now, but I think he'll get things figured out as he develops. For Michigan, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with Sharon Moore. I'm not sure if he's going to end up surviving this season. The fact that he went into this season with the 3 quarterbacks that he now has 2 because one had to retire from concussions. I don't know if that makes you feel good about what you got going on. I mean, your best weapon is Khalil Mullins. That's the best guy you got. Him and Colston Loveland. And in order for Colston Loveland to be effective, you got to have somebody throw him the ball. And you know what? Maybe Donovan Edwards needs to be your quarterback because the pass that he made to him was pretty nice. Maybe he needs to be your quarterback. He could be your dual threat QB that you got there. But if you're a Michigan fan, you have to be frustrated with how things have gone and where things are at right now. I don't think either fan base can be excited about what they've seen. And then you kind of take some of that over, right? And you look at how the game ended. And as a Michigan fan, I'm so disappointed and I'm so upset and I'm so frustrated with what took place at the very end of that game, because it's another time where Michigan State are playing each other. It's another time where there's an incident that we're talking about. There's another time where both teams got into a bit of a squabble. And if the reports are true, I watched it, but I couldn't really make heads or tails because everybody was all over each other. If the reports are true that it was a female Michigan State staffer who was caught underneath part of that pile and getting stomped on, that's a big issue. That's a huge issue. And if you're Ward Manuel, if you're Sharon Moore, if you're the Big Ten, you need to step in. You need to do something. There should be an investigation done. And if it was Khalil Mullins, he needs to be suspended. It's one of those things where there is no explanation that you can give to justify any of that. And I'm just tired of these stupid incidents that happen. And then afterwards, Colston Loveland gets interviewed and he drops the little brother line. Like, come on, man, grow up, be better. And you're the reason all this shit started because you had to go headbutt a guy. Now, look, I get it. The Michigan State defensive back fired off the ball in a victory formation. Totally wasn't needed. But you know what? Everybody always sees the retaliation, and your headbutt was not needed. And to me, it's just another black eye on a rivalry game that I get really sick and tired of watching because it's always something stupid. The big storyline coming out of it wasn't necessarily Michigan State. It was the final, 35 seconds of that game. And it's stupid shit all the time. What are your thoughts on how that ended, how the game ended, and what took place, and what do you think the ramifications should be? Because you go back a couple years ago, Michigan State was trying to throw legal books, or Michigan was trying to throw legal books at Michigan State players, which was stupid and embarrassing if we really break it down and have a conversation about it. And look, I think Alan Hallard has all the right to reach out to the Big Ten and really press the Big Ten to try to sit there. And if you want to go with the little brother, big brother thing, really sit there and hammer Big Brother, because Big Brother should know better. Big Brother should be better, but they're not, man. Sometimes Michigan just plays like the scum that they think that they're not, and it's frustrating as a Michigan fan. What are your thoughts on how it all ended?
I don't mind little brother resets. That's just what it is. It sucks to hear it, consistently, but that's how Michigan feels, and that's why the loss stings, is that you want to kind of get out of the shadow of Michigan, and now Michigan's won a national title. So look, it stinks because overwhelmingly Michigan is a big brand. They're bigger than everybody else in terms of just the support. You can go anywhere in the world, you're always going to see. I was in Dallas, and 4 or 5 people are walking around with Michigan gear on, and you're just like, oh my God, dude, you can't get away from this big Block M. It's a worldwide brand. You get it. you just don't want to hear that, especially from a guy that's not going to be playing in the game anymore. It's old. I mean, I don't think you need, like, I don't mind it, I look at it like a situation in which 3 lost teams, you should just, praise your team, have a little bit more class about it. But, in the shit talking business, I don't mind it too much. It just sucks to hear. I do think that when you have, fisticuffs at the kneel down, that's really rough. And there's always going to be aggression and heat. I just do think that the coaching staff on both sides should have did a better job once the game ended, because the emotions are high. They're going to boil over. It's football. I get it. So I'm not upset by it. It's just, like I said, I'm attached to it because I went to Michigan State. There's no better feeling. It's just one of those things, like you just know how good you feel when you beat Michigan, because they're the standard. Like, no matter what you say, they're the standard. They're the top end in regards to the most wins in college football history. They're the standard in the Big Ten, the Big Block M. So you feel good, like, okay, you did something, like you passed a bar exam, or you get a degree, or you do something great when you beat Michigan. And it was going to be tough. It was always going to be tough. It's kids, so you can't really get too mad at it. The little brother thing is cute, but it's played out for most people. Like, most Sparty fans, like, little brother. Because after that, Michigan State got on a nice run and won some games. So you hope they use it as motivation. I mean, I just think that if you're Jonathan Smith and if you need little brother to get motivated, I mean, that's just craziness. It's just the biggest game of the year. It's the only game, especially in a season where you're not going anywhere. Your team is in a rebuild mode. So you needed to treat the game with the level of fervor that it deserved. It just didn't feel like, basically, you didn't play your best to give yourself the best chance to win. You got out-schemed, and you had the wrong scheme. That's crazy, against a team that you could have made really one-dimensional. And I just thought that the coaching staff, if they looked in the mirror, I don't know what they were thinking, who advised them to play that way in regards to the lack of creativity. It literally should have been the Nick Marsh show more than it was. It should have been the Nathan Carter show. It should have been the Aiden Childs show. Literally, you have 4 guys that could have did some things offensively, and you shot yourselves in the foot. You made key mistakes. You didn't bring your best game. And so, to me, it feels like you didn't peak at the right time. And that's what you're supposed to do over the first 7 weeks of the season, is peak for the Michigan game. So, to me, it doesn't bother me regarding the little brother thing. It's cute. They say it. You're going to hear it. You're always going to feel that way. And, for me, being a Spartan fan, you always felt that way. And then before it was being a Lions fan, you just felt it triple. But now the Lions are winning, and Michigan State hopefully will use it as motivation to get themselves right back on track moving forward. But they got a tough road. For Michigan, do you think that propels them against Oregon? Because I see a curb stomping with Oregon. If Michigan's got to try to find a way to control that football, I have a chance. I have a credential again for the Oregon game, because I really don't want to see Michigan. I do want to see the good teams in the Big Ten, being, we're in the NFL, and you can see some of the players that typically end up from Oregon in the NFL, as well as Michigan as well. But I just don't see the game being competitive. So it's just going to be tough, because I think Oregon, based on what they're capable of doing, they can do some damage to Michigan if they don't play well. So I hope the game is a little bit more competitive than I think it's going to be, but I do think that Michigan should be able to kind of figure out, okay, do you like this 2-quarterback system? Do you think that just, hey, you're stuck with it, so just try to maximize the potential moving forward?
I think they get annihilated by Oregon. I don't think they stand a chance against Oregon. No, I don't like this system. I think this system is silly, because you already know what the play is going to be, right? If Alex Orji's in the game, it's going to be a designed run, because he can't throw the football. If Davis Warren's under center, you've got the option for a possible run play, or you've got the option for a pass play. But the one good thing he did in this game against Michigan State was he didn't turn the ball over. He gave them a chance to win by not turning the ball over. So if he can go in there and he can manage the game, not turn it over, he'll give you a shot. But offensively, I don't think they're great. I don't think they have anybody who's really heads and tails above anybody else. I think in this game against Oregon, you're going to see a complete and utter beatdown, because Oregon is playing at such a high level. Oregon was a team that really should have been in that college football playoff last year, and they weren't. They, for some reason, couldn't get past Washington. I think they've retooled. They've really done a good job acclimating to a Big Ten style of football. And I think when they go to take on Michigan this week, you're going to see a team that Michigan wants to be like, right? They're going to bully you up front, both offensively and defensively. They are a team that can run the ball, and they're a team that can pass the ball. This is a team that can cover you with their secondary, and they've got linebackers that are looking to rip your head off when you come through the middle. And Michigan just doesn't have guys like that. They've got Josiah Stewart, and really that's kind of it on defense. And then offensively, like I said, Colston Loveland's probably your best player that you have. I think Khalil Mullins, he's got to get his touches, and the guy can run for days. But I just think they're working at such a deficit. They don't have the talent that they had last year, and it's just one of those things where you've got a new coach trying to kind of navigate all of this. And I don't think he's done a great job navigating any of it, to be honest with you. And I thought it was going to go much smoother, and it has not. And he's got a team that I think if you were to get him off to the side, you were to have like a conversation with him, he was going to give him some truth serum. I don't think he necessarily likes this team. He don't likes the way this team is constructed. I don't think he likes his defensive coordinator, to be honest with you. So I think there's going to be a lot of moving pieces if Sharon Moore stays here next year. He's going to have to go to the transfer portal. He's going to have to go get a quarterback. You're going to have to figure out what you're doing with your run game. You're going to have to go get some defensive players because you don't have enough meat up front, and you don't have enough guys in the back who can cover, and you're going to have to get a new defensive coordinator who knows what the hell they're doing because Wink Martindale is just not good enough. So, look, I think the state of Michigan right now, the Michigan program is just complete and utter frustration. Like I said, for Michigan State, yeah, it sucks that you lost this game. I think the one thing you can take solace in is that you really should have won this game. And it was your head coach not necessarily understanding the importance of this game and then really not keeping his foot on the throttle and really stretching out a lead and then playing ahead, because Michigan's not going to beat you if they're trying to play catch up. They just don't have the guns. They don't have the ability to pass the ball. They don't have the ability to get the ball downfield. So if you're playing from ahead, Michigan is more than likely going to lose that game. And I think Jonathan Smith needed to understand that, and he did not. I think the Michigan program is just in dire need of a hard reset, and you're not getting it this year. You're getting a very soft reset, and it sucks because you're just kind of looking at how things are put together. And unless Sharon Moore really goes out and recruits his ass off next year, it's going to be a very tough road for Michigan getting back to that mountaintop.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's a setback. It's a tough thing. You hope that the hangover doesn't last too long from the loss, but we'll see. Both teams moving forward after a hard-fought contest. This game, the Paul Bunyan Trophy, stays at Michigan, and we'll see. We'll see if it's program-saving for Sharon Moore, and we'll see if it's program-defining for Jonathan Smith. Turning our attention to the Lions, who were able to just curb stomp the Titans. I thought that was crazy. I thought it was a crazy game start to finish, led by special teams, cuz I just thought that when you see a football game that goes that way, at first people thought, based on the defense giving up 14 points and Rudolph moving the football, people were just going a little bit crazy, thinking that it was going to be a trap game. So luckily, the special teams and the kick return units were able to get the Lions put in really prime field position, and it was something that really, in a game where your opponent is so much less than, you tend to focus on the thing that everybody's paying attention to is the fact that, okay, clearly the pass rush for the Lions. Now, there's a lot of good things to talk about with this football game, with the special teams, with Jahmyr Gibbs and all that, but most fans want to talk about the pass rush because it really hits home, okay, clearly. You're not going to patchwork it with what you got. Isaiah Thomas is good. They're role players. Josh Paschal's in and out of the lineup. You can't trust him if he's going to be available when you need him most. And look, it's nothing against him. It's just that's what it is. He's dealt with illnesses and dealt with health situations in terms of his career. So to me, it really, we're recording this on Tuesday. A move could be made. I doubt it. The Lions have the history of making moves at the deadline. I think that's the time when the deals will heat up and you can pay the most reasonable price. Even if you pay now, you're paying a higher price than I think you would if you just wait a week. So I know fans are desperate, and Dan Campbell clowning around and jumping in and giving everybody the notion that he's elated is crazy. But I think to me, it'll be a mid-level move. It'll be like as a Darius Smith, somebody that they believe can be what initially Dan Campbell, his first answer was the honest answer on the radio, a complimentary role player. And I think they'll try to swing for the fence, but you can't give up 3 first-round picks for Max Crosby on top of more with a player, because I truly believe that the Raiders want probably 2 first-rounders and Brian Branch, or 3 first-rounders and a player. So would we be shocked if he did it? I wouldn't be shocked, but I think the move that would need to be made to shore up the pass rush. I wouldn't be disappointed if he doesn't. I just recorded a podcast where I'm daring Brad Holmes not to make a move. If you trust your draft and development, if you want the fan base to puff out your chest, if you want to stand in front of the media and say I'm the baddest man on earth, roll with it. See if this offense is the best in the league. Now, of course, that's just fun. I do think in my heart of hearts, 90% they make a move. But if you want to brag that you built the best team, don't make a move. You got enough depth. You believe in Levi and Josh and the move you made off of the Bengals practice squad. All right, puff your chest out and take the gamble. See what you got. Don't make the move. See what happens. But to me, I don't think that. I think that when you look at the Lions' history, there's no factual knowledge that leads anyone other than the dream scenario to land a big name that the Lions can pull it off. And unfortunately, I don't think it'll be through lack of effort. They will try. I just think that teams, it's I like the comparison where people say, well, then imagine if somebody offered 3 first-rounders for Aiden Hutchinson. Would you take it? Most people would say no. So, I look at it like Brad will do what's best for the team. And to be honest, this offense, and we can joke around, this offense may be good enough as is to give this football team just what it needs to even dominate all the way through the playoffs. Could they get better, maybe, and make a move on offense too? To me, I would shore up the defense. I'd go linebacker and edge, but I'm okay either way, because when you lose Aiden Hutchinson, that just really makes it hard to fully blast a team if they fall short. I mean, you lost your best player. There is no replacement, but, I'm of the opinion that, our Lions podcast is called Lone Wolves. Everybody thinks go get edge, go get edge. I'm like, if your offense is great, make it great times 2. Add some more pieces on offense too, to make it so that Jared Goff can find 6-7 targets in the Super Bowl when he's facing pressure. But how do you view this? Like, I know you're not the desperate type that's just like, oh, go make a move like yesterday. But I do think that you want this football team to go into the next stretch of games with the most resources to be able to get that number 1 seed and to win the Super Bowl. They need it. But at the same token, they're making a case when they curb stomp people 52-14. Maybe you can have the discussion they don't need it.
Yeah, and look, it sounds like the theme of the podcast today is curb stomp. I think if Brad Holmes doesn't make a move, I might curb stomp Brad Holmes. I think a move has to be made. I think he will make a move. I'm very confident he's going to get something done. Now, is it going to be the move that everybody wants? Everybody wants Max Crosby. Everybody thinks that they should go out and trade for Max Crosby and give up multiple first-round picks and some other stuff. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think Max Crosby is going to be the type of trade that this team's going to make. And you can look at Brad Holmes' history and see that's not really in his wheelhouse. It's not really what he does. He's a guy who always has an eye on the future and an eye on winning right now, and that's what he's trying to do. And it's because of that I think that it'll be a bit of a lesser move. I do think it'll be a guy, like you said, like a Zadarius Smith. If you really got froggy, it could be a guy like a Myles Garrett, right? It's going to cost you a little bit more, but how much more is it going to really cost you? It's not going to cost you what Max Crosby is going to cost you. It'll probably cost you maybe a first, or maybe it'll cost you 2 seconds, but it's going to cost you something. And look, if you go get both those guys, cool with that. Get them both. I don't care. I think you need help on the edges. And at this point, your linebackers are starting to drop. Rodrigo goes down with an ankle in this game. And so you're starting to look thin across the board. The one good thing about this team, and they're in the arguably the best thing about this team, is they're not built like a team like the Chiefs. Chiefs are losing guys, and they have to go out and they have to make splash moves to get other guys in because they're not deep enough. The Detroit Lions go with that philosophy, and I know it's cliche, but it's next man up. They are deep. They go, they grab guys, they pull them up, and they're like, look, just do your job. Play your position, play your role, and everything will take care of itself. And that's what they're doing. That being said, we now have seen 2 weeks without Aiden Hutchinson, and that pass rush does not exist. You need to be able to get pressure on the quarterbacks in order to have an impact and go as far as you want to go. So it is on Brad Holmes to make that move. And I think you're right. I think as things start to tick down towards the trade deadline, there will be a move that will be made. Brad Holmes will get somebody in here, and I think it's going to be a move that's going to make everybody excited. No, it's not going to be Max Crosby, but do I think it's going to be a Zadarius Smith type? Yes, I do. Do I think there's a chance that you can get a Myles Garrett type player? Yeah, I do. And do I think that they add maybe a linebacker, like you said, to kind of help level things out and even stuff out? Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Obviously, it's going to have to be at the right price. You don't want to be going around giving up a whole bunch of capital when, like I said, you've got one eye on the future at all times. And here's the thing. With a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, when he comes back, we expect him to come back and we expect him to kind of pick up where he left off. Now, there's no guarantee that happens. I think it will because you have a good feeling and you know the player, right? He's one of those guys that is a hard worker. He's going to do everything in his power to get back to playing at this Pro Bowl, All-Pro level that he was playing at this year. If you're able to keep a guy like a Zadarius Smith or a Myles Garrett, and you're able to have them when he comes back, just think about how much better that defense looks. Think about how much more impactful that defense looks. I'm in a disagreement with you where you feel they need to add some pieces on offense. I don't think they need to add anything on offense. I think they got more than enough players. I think some of the offensive players, specifically one, just needs to get his head right and get shit figured out and not get suspended anymore. But I think they've got more than enough. You've seen it in this game. This was a game where Khalif Raymond ate, right? Like everybody's got to eat, and everybody's had a big game. Amon St. Brown has had a big game. Khalif Raymond just had a monster game. J-Mo had a big game that first week. David Montgomery had a big game. Jahmyr Gibbs had a big game so far this season. We're all kind of waiting for Sam Laporta to have his big game. Everybody is eating. You don't need another piece on offense unless you want to address the offensive line. That is the only place where I'll be like, yeah, if you can get offensive linemen for something reasonable, go ahead. Because the reason this offense works as well as it does is because you're giving Jared Goff time to throw. You're giving Jared Goff time to manipulate in the pocket and allow these routes to develop downfield. And you're allowing these running backs to have wide open holes and wide open lanes to run through. So if you're going to add a piece, it'd be on the offensive line. You don't need another toy, though. You have so many toys right now that it's hard to get guys the rock. I think Amon St. Brown only had, two touches this game? And yeah, one of them was for a touchdown, but like you're spreading the ball around so much because you've got so many guys. And yeah, it makes it hard for a defense to cover, but I don't think you need another guy because you've got so many good guys as it is. I think you're okay. I think you're set. It becomes an embarrassment of riches if you add another piece. Like I know we were talking about Cooper Kupp last week. You don't need to do that, I don't think. But defensively, you obviously have to shore up that defensive line. You need to add a little bit of pressure to get to the quarterback. And you do that by going out and grabbing an edge rusher. And then maybe you help solidify your linebacking core just a little bit by getting another piece that you can plug in there. With this game, Lions trucked Tennessee, right? Look at the final score. They damn near hung 60. We were watching the game and we started joking like, Dan Campbell's going to get down. They're going to score a touchdown and then they're going to go for 2 just so they can make it an even number and put 60 on the board. Obviously it didn't happen. Hung 52. So a little bit more than half 100. When this game started, though, it kind of felt like it was going to be a shootout, and each teams were basically trading body blows, and then the Lions just kind of ran away from the Titans and kind of hid. What was your big takeaway from this game? Because I think when you look at this game, there's a couple of different things, right? Dan Campbell preaches about it all the time. This team plays with all three phases. This team isn't just an offense, isn't just a defense. This team also has special teams. Special teams played a huge role in this victory. Special teams was big. Offensively, they didn't have to do a whole lot because they kept getting the ball somewhere around midfield. And it's impressive when your quarterback can do what your quarterback did in this game. And I don't even think Jared Goff threw for 150 yards. He threw for 85 yards. He even throw for 100 yards. So I think it's impressive that Jared Goff could have the day that he had and throw just as many touchdowns as he had incomplete passes and didn't even eclipse 100 yards. And this team was still able to run away with 52 points on the board. So I thought that was awesome and impressive. But it was the adjustment that the defense made that really impressed me, because when this game started, Tennessee's offense was punching and kicking Detroit in the mouth. And they went into halftime, made some adjustments, and then next thing you know, that offense went quiet, like deadly silent. Like, are they still alive? Are they on a resuscitator? Can somebody check to make sure that Tennessee still has cabin pressure? Because Detroit's defense ended up just suffocating them. And that, to me, is what stood out the most. What stood out to you in this game?
Yeah, the special teams was crazy. I just thought that, when you're the Titans and you realize, oh my goodness, why not kick the ball out of bounds? I mean, special teams and returns, you're not just seeing return games like that from Khalif Raymond like that too often, especially in the age of kickoffs where you can kick the ball out of bounds, punt returns. The specialists that learn how to punt know how to get the ball out of bounds. And man, for Khalil Dorsey and Khalif Raymond to carry the team, it was crazy. Again, the trick plays, the wealth of fun that the Lions are having with David Montgomery is just truly crazy, that anybody can throw the football at any given time. The trick plays are wild. Really, what made it, I think, the game really fun was when they got to the red zone, they punched it in with Brock Wright and Sam Laporta on tight ends day. You just saw that this football team could win a game without their best players even having to show up, which is crazy at the highest levels. But it was a get-right game for a lot of people, and that's why you can't take too much out of it, because the Titans are a team that came in looking to just kind of survive. They tried their best, but when you trade DeAndre Hopkins and you got a lot of noise, it was clear it was going to be an ass whooping, and the Lions did it. The Lions whooped their ass. So it was always good to see Jahmyr Gibbs with the 70-yard touchdown. I just thought that his emergence and to see him break away with some speed, I thought was great. But how did you handle when it was the blowout 4-touchdown lead, and it's late in the third quarter, and there was a play where the Titans guy got to the ankle of Jared Goff and he was on the ground? I was just like in the press box trying to maintain composure because I was almost going to scream, get Jared out of the game. What are you doing? Get everybody out of the game. They showed a replay, and I tweeted it right when I saw it at Detroit Podcast. I said, are you kidding me right now? You're letting Jared Goff take shots when you got the game is clearly out of reach. I told Christian, I said, they pulled the starters out 1 to 2 drives too late. And I just think you're gambling. It's the NFL. And in a game that's out of hand, someone could have made a name against the Lions with hits. And, you're always, it's a violent game. You're always one crazy play away. So I thought that Dan Campbell was just a little bit reckless not taking the starters out at the end of the third quarter and having them play 1 or 2 more drives than was necessary, because the game was out of reach. They were not going to come back. And I just thought that there was one play in particular where you saw the hand of the defender get to Jared Goff's ankle, and that could have easily been twisted. That could have furthered the ankle situation that occurred early in the game when the Titans were bringing pressure and getting home. So to me, when you're up and you're up big, take those guys out, because you saw Aiden Hutchinson get hurt, and that's about it. I think the Lions Super Bowl window this year is predicated on nobody else key being hurt, because you see what they're able to do now. If they suffer 2 more major injuries, because the Chiefs are loading up, the Texans loaded up, and the Ravens, even though they had a bad loss to Cleveland, I think they got a good enough team to represent the AFC very well. So how did you handle it? Were you like, what the heck is Dan doing? Or were you like, okay, it is what it is, he knows how to manage this team?
It was the same thing, just screaming, like, get him out of the game. Why is he even in there? You don't need him in there. It was one of those things where that wasn't the first time that he got hit, the play you're talking about. He had got hit a couple other times in this game, and there were times where he was kind of limping up to the line of scrimmage, and you're just like, holy shit. Like, our season rests with this guy. Like, if this guy goes down, the season's over, right? Like, Hendon Hooker's not taking you to the promised land. It's Jared Goff's team for a reason. That's why they signed him to the extension. He runs this offense so miraculously, it's unbelievable. So there is no way in hell that if he goes down, you're doing anything of importance. Your season is basically gonna fold up shop. You might have the ability to get into the playoffs, and you might have the ability to maybe win a game, but you are not going where you think you're going. So it's one of those things where, when you get up and you get a lead like this, you need to get your guys out because you don't need to get them hurt, especially when you've got a big game that you're facing off against Green Bay. Green Bay is right behind you. You're in the driver's seat, but it's not really like Green Bay is in the backseat. Green Bay is sitting right alongside you in that passenger seat as you're driving the car. They are right there. They're getting ready to kick you out of the car. So if Jared Goff goes down, similar to how Jordan Love went down in this past week's game, all of a sudden your future becomes much more cloudy. Like, Malik Willis is doing some decent things for Green Bay, right? But he is not Jordan Love. Jordan Love is the guy who they need to be healthy and help carry them on a bit of a playoff tear. This week's going to be interesting when we face off with Green Bay. Not 100% sure which quarterback we're going to get. I'm assuming it's going to if Jordan Love can play, obviously he's going to play. I think you got to prepare for Malik Willis to play as well. But, I mean, the margins are so thin right now in the NFC North. You can't afford to have a hiccup. You can't afford to have a misstep because everybody is so densely packed at the very, very top right now that if you lose a game, you're losing a ton of ground. And to be honest with you, Chicago should be pissed off because they should have ended up beating Washington. They had a defensive back who was too busy jaw-jacking with the fans, ends up costing this team, and now they're at the bottom looking up at everybody else when really and truly they should have been in the mix right along with Minnesota, right along with Green Bay, and right along with Detroit, and instead they now have a bunch of ground to make up. So the NFC North is the toughest division for a reason, and this week you are looking to gain a little bit more separation. You're looking to basically go up 2 games on Green Bay, get the tiebreaker with the win, and then distance yourself from them by giving them another loss. So can they carry over all of the good fortune that they had in this game? Can they carry over all of the scoring? Can the special teams show up and do the same things? Can the defense sit there and contain what looks to be a pretty potent offense with Green Bay? Tucker Kraft is like the second coming of the tight end this year. They've got wide receivers up and down the board over there. You've got Jacobs, who need I say more? The guy's a stud running back. So offensively, they are incredibly talented. I think it's going to be a huge test for this defense this year, and this is a game the Detroit Lions have to have when they go into Lambeau Field. Do they have the ability to carry it over? And does that defense hold up against what looks to be a very potent offense? And it really, at this moment in time, it doesn't necessarily seem to matter if it's Jordan Love or Malik Willis under center.
Yeah, it's going to matter. I do think that Jordan Love might give the Lions a better chance to win because of lately his turnovers are very high. He's turning the football over at a very high rate. So to me, here's what I like about the Lions. Brian Branch didn't even play all that good against the Titans, and the Lions were still able to force so many punch-outs and Kirby Joseph with the interception. The Lions' defense, even though, yes, there's a clear issue with the pass rush. We all see it. We all see that the pass rush is not as good. It's basically wiped off the map without Aiden Hutchinson. But they're making do with an offense and special teams. So that's why it's a great question to see if they don't make a move, can the offense and special teams carry a defense that can just hold on? Because you still got a lot of good talent on defense. Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch. I just think that you take the focus away from the defensive line in terms of pass rush and you just lean on the secondary a little bit more. and maybe the emergence of Ennis Rakestraw and Terrion Arnold in the second half of the year you might be able to get away with that. You never know, because this offense might be at that 49er, back in the 90s kind of day where you just can't stop them. Bill Belichick said it's impossible to stop this offense. There's just too much. And with an offensive line, a run game, tight end, it's built for tough. It's pretty great. And we'll see what happens. But I do think the Lions, if they get rolling offensively with rhythm, it's going to be hard to stop. But, because I think the Packers are going to make this a game. But the Lions have shown that they have the opportunity in Green Bay to have success. So I think it has the feel to me of another Vikings game where, here we go, 35-yard field goal, Jake Bates, right hash. Let's go, make that kick, and let's get out of this game 7-1 and get to the Texans. So I just think that the next two games you just got to go 1-1. You're 6-1. You're fine. You're not having Jamison Williams, which will be impactful in terms of explosives, but I'm okay with it as long as you either beat one of the next two. You beat the Packers or you beat the Texans, and because it's just there's something just to look at it. There's some weird aura, team of destiny shit going on with the Lions. I mean, the Bears game was a win for the Bears. Mm-hmm. A Hail Mary, a crazy where the defensive back is literally dancing in the end zone, not paying attention. That shit used to happen to the Lions. You go up against the Packers, Jordan Love, all of a sudden groin injury. You go up against the Texans, who were all-world to start the year. Stephon Diggs, I think. I don't know if the report came out yet about his injury, but he looked like he had a non-contact injury. And for some reason, now it's not for some reason, the reports clearly, when people are looking at the film of the Texans, their offensive line is terrible. C.J. Stroud, again, I almost cost myself by playing C.J. Stroud over Baker Mayfield. I mean, Baker Mayfield is having himself a season where he's averaging 30 fantasy points a week, even without his two best. Mm-hmm. I was shocked. So now it's almost an automatic now. I have to stop playing C.J. Stroud. But there's some weird aura going on here where it appears like this Lions team might be catching the wave of luck that this football team has not had in a long time. Are you noticing that too? Like where the chips need to fall, they're falling for Dan Campbell as the schedule comes up, because it's going to be a tougher schedule, but some of their opponents are dealing with some injuries. It's crazy.
The old adage is it's not so much who you play, but when you play them. And you're right. It's boding well for the Detroit Lions. If the quarterback situation in Green Bay is a little bit in flux, that bodes well for the Lions, right? If you have Jordan Love start and he gets a little bit banged up, a little bit rattled, they're able to get to him and hit him and put some pressure on him, knock him out. Next thing you know, Malik Willis has to come in and you're able to kind of contain him and do what you have to do there. That bodes well for Detroit. You go to Houston, C.J. Stroud not necessarily having a great year. Their wide receivers are banged up, whether it's Diggs or Nico Collins. He hasn't been the same since Nico Collins hasn't been in. Their offensive line, like you said, not looking great. So when you play these guys and you play these teams, you take advantage and things work out really, really well for you. And you said, look, your goal is to split this week and next week. I think this week is so important. And it's not just because it's the next game up. I think because it's a divisional game, it is incredibly important. The thing is, you have to be able to win your division, because if you don't win your division, it's not one of those things where Detroit loses their division and then they fall down to a 2 seed. You lose your division, you're falling down to a 5 seed. That's what happens because this division is so damn tight. And right now, the way it sets up, like going into Sunday, it was Green Bay as the 5th seed, Minnesota as the 6th seed, and Chicago as the 7th seed. You were playing somebody from your division. And I think your division is so tight and your division is so strong. There's a good possibility that if you don't win your division, a team like Green Bay or a team like Minnesota will win your division, and then you'll have to go play your division foe at their house again. And I think Ford Field is such a big home field advantage for this team. During the playoffs, that place was absolutely bonkers. That place helped win you the game against the Rams. That place helped seal the victory against the Bucks. That place would have helped you win the game against San Francisco. So I think having that home field advantage through the playoffs is just vitally important to this team. That's why I think this week is incredibly important, and they have to get the win. I think they get the win. I believe this offense goes into Green Bay. And look, I know Jared Goff doesn't do a great job outdoors. I get it. But I think he performs incredibly well this week with everything on the line. Probably not going to be 3 touchdowns. Probably throw for 2 touchdowns. Probably throw for 289 yards. I think this is a game where a guy like Sam Laporta comes out and he gets to finally eat, and he eats well. I think Sam Laporta has a big day, and I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has a big day as well. I think Lions end up winning this game.
Yeah, say
27 to 24. It probably does come down to a couple kicks from Jake Bates.
Yeah, no doubt. Say his name, and the report just literally appeared. Stephon Diggs torn ACL out for the year.
There you go.
It just came out.
That helps
131. Yeah, that helps Detroit tremendously. And Nico Collins' status has been up in the air as of late. So that's crazy, man, when you're catching these teams. It's just a wild thing to look at that, for all the years. And you create your own luck. You build through the trenches. You do the things. It may be the time. May not, my heart of hearts tells me next year is the year. But, with this offense playing this well, I think it's fair to dream about not only the Lions winning the Super Bowl and partying, but maybe, just maybe, for the first time ever, I hoist our fantasy trophy for the first time. I whooped your ass, cousin. It was great. I thought for sure when you busted out with 20 points from Kieran Williams on Thursday, I said, oh, here we fucking go again. A guy that's great is going to blow up, and I don't got Jameson Williams, and I'm probably going to make the wrong choice with C.J. Stroud and Baker Mayfield, which of course I did, and I was pissed when it was close going into Sunday night. I held a very slim 1-point lead over you, and I was just like, okay, what's going on here? And then, luckily I made good, solid, sound decisions at the draft with Ladd McConkey. I had a feeling he was going to be, the apple of Jim Harbaugh's eye, and he blew up. I kind of took my time percolating him. I set him in there, 30 points. And then on National Tight End Day, George Kittle has just been all-world awesome for me, and I was able to just weather the storm of the first game without Jameson Williams. I'm liking my team. Now, if I'm smart, with Baker Mayfield leading the way, I could roll out a team cause with Baker Mayfield, Saquon Barkley, Jameson Williams, Ladd McConkey, and George Kittle. Those are 5 producers right there that if I catch the break, I could finally end the drought. My wife has won it, I think. My father-in-law is like owning the league now, and he's taking a step back. So your team is very solid and can catch a break too, but you need some moves. So it was very nice to defeat you soundly. I'm very much happy. I think I went back-to-back with your family there. I think I went, or maybe 2 of the last 3 went with the missus and you. So it was very nice. It did percolate my mood a little bit. So at your expense, I'm gloating. I'm very happy. There's always a couple games in fantasy that I get up for, and one is always beating you. I didn't even notice when we talked last week that I was playing you, and until I looked, I'm like, oh, I'm playing Adam. So that made it fun to focus a little bit more this week. It did, I'm sorry, at your expense, it did pick up my mood after the spark. Because for me, I was like, man, I am way too much upset about Michigan State, knowing that I didn't care enough to go. But it picked up my mood. Thank you very much. I need this win. I need that trophy because the other league, I'm getting brutally hammered in a league with my nephew. And I picked 10th. I literally, in the first time, because 2 years, first time ever actually, in 2 leagues, I picked 14th, which was last, and 10th. Last place in 2 different leagues. One I did well in drafting. The other one just brutally. I'm like 2-5, and I'm just getting ripped left and right. And it's fun, but it's not fun to. It's fun to be in a league. It's not fun to get your tail kicked in. So thank you so much for putting out a weak lineup and having me dominate you. It made me feel really good. And now we can go forward because I can't wait because I do see your team making a nice push there. Do you have any comments on your team falling so far short of expectations this week?
I'm glad you're able to get a win this week.
Yes.
Good for you.
Yeah, good for me. And also, too, Jaden Reed got a point for you, so that really rubbed it in, too. Like that fucking Spartan didn't do jack shit.
Yeah, that was probably part of the undoing for me. Yeah. That and in my tight end situation being a little bit of a mess right now.
Man, fantasy,
but it's all right. I have a feeling that I'm going to be in the playoffs. I have a feeling I'm going to be a hard out when I get to the playoffs. You'll be a hard out as well. And maybe I'll see you for the championship. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. And then the last thing that's crazy is the first time, if you guys go check it out, a quarterback in the NFL got ripped to shreds for literally tapping out. I don't understand. When everyone was talking about Anthony Richardson tapping out, I just thought that he took himself out of the game. I did not think he literally tapped his helmet with his hands and said, "Take me out." He got ripped to shreds. Like, literally in the NFL, it's so easy to lie that here's a memo to anyone listening to this podcast if you're 17. If you're a quarterback and you're tired and you need to get out, okay, fine. But when they ask you about it, you just say, "I had a cramp. I had I just was feeling like, something was wrong with me medically." You make up the lies at the highest level of lying to say that anything besides you're tired, because I don't care if a 400-pound dude was on you. You just figure out a way to communicate with your coach to call a run play. He's taking it so far, taking so much heat, and it is a sign real bad of bad leadership when you're not in the best of shape. It was really bad to see. See the footage. It's literally a quarterback tapping his helmet, getting himself out of the game. Did you go, what the hell, when you saw that? Because everyone that's seeing that goes, you can't be a leader of a team if you're not in the best shape possible. And Dan Orlovsky said, playing quarterback, you're not really all that much taxed physically. You're the least taxed person. So if you're not able to handle one rush and one defensive lineman getting on you, something is very wrong. And I think Anthony Richardson, in this case, it may be the thing that he needs to get his act together. But my God, a player, literally, a leader of a team, tapped himself out of a football game. It's the craziest thing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of nuts. That to me, and to come out and just be like, "I was tired." Like, what? Like, are you serious right now, bro? Like,
at 22,
just to be like that blatant about it. Like, yeah, I was tired. Like, I've never seen that ever happen in my entire life. I was shocked. I was stunned. I was like, holy shit! I can't believe this guy just did that.
Yeah, it's
and crazy. That's what he did, bro. To me, absolutely bonkers.
Absolutely bonkers. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Maybe by the time we record next week, the Pistons will have a win. They're 0-4. Yeah, don't count on it. It's embarrassing. It's bad. It's really bad. Their schedule is brutal. The NBA kicked them when they were down, and it's just a sick situation where against the Heat, I am watching like a dumbass. Against the Heat, they were okay until the fourth quarter, and then they collapsed. So it's tough. It's just one of those deals where you don't have enough talent to close games out. So 30 games might even be a stretch for this basketball team. Anywhere you listen to your favorite audio content, just type in Detroit Sports Podcast, and our content will find you, because we're ever approaching so close to episode 600 of this podcast. I can't wait to talk more about Lions, the rebuilds of the Tigers and Red Wings, and just the train wreck that is the Pistons. We'll be on it, and each and every week breaking down the world of Detroit sports. And now finally, maybe Jonathan Smith can figure out that, hey, it's important to Spartan Nation that you bring your best against Michigan. It's not acceptable to lose to the Wolverines. Not like that. Play your best and let the opponent do their thing, but to not bring your A game, absolutely disheartening and unacceptable. Spartans have good standards. Spartan dogs do not accept that. And then if you want to laugh, because I'm a nice guy and we like to laugh at ourselves, there is a video circulating online, of two Spartans trying to exchange jerseys. And it looks like two people that have never, ever figured out how to do this before. Go check it out. Enjoy a laugh at Spartan's expense. Kenneth Walker literally has to have three people try to get his jersey off. And in the end, it doesn't happen. So it looks stupid, but it kind of summarized the weekend that was for Michigan State. Let's talk again next week on the latest episode of Doc and Jock.
You fucking podcasters. I said don't let them in here.